Have you ever called yourself lazy or blamed yourself for not getting enough work done? That was my situation years ago when I was deep in depression and anxiety. I didn't know it at the time, but the depression and the anxiety was the reason I was calling myself lazy and struggling and not being able to get any work done. In this episode, I'd like to go over what was really happening and also provide you with a tool that may be able to help. Hi, my name's Neil Shearing and I'm a former cancer research scientist who suffered from depression and anxiety for a very long time. In this epicentering podcast, I want to go over various aspects of depression and anxiety and hopefully share information that I've learned over the past 5 years of my recovery to help other people who are struggling in the same situation. I'll be using a blend of science, psychology, and my own personal experience, as well as offering tips and tools that will hopefully help people who are struggling with depression and anxiety. First of all, I'd like to talk a bit about laziness. When we call ourselves lazy, what do we actually mean? It's a value judgment against ourselves. We expect ourselves to be able to do something. And when we can't reach that expectation that we think we should be able to reach, we call ourselves lazy, and we start to beat up on ourselves for not being able to achieve what we should be able to achieve. Unfortunately, that should statement is a massive expectation on our own shoulders. When we're in depression and anxiety, there are many changes in the body and in the mind that cause us to actually have less capacity to do any kind of work. We can have body fatigue and tiredness that can make physical tasks exceptionally difficult, and we can also have mental fatigue, which means we can struggle with concentration, we can struggle with decision making, we can struggle with thinking, and we can struggle with memory. And when you put all those things together, it is exceptionally difficult for people who are struggling with depression and anxiety to get a huge amount of productive work done, or in fact to get much of any productive work done. Unfortunately, this can then look to people from the outside world that we're lazy because we're not able to do what we were probably able to do in the past. So it looks like we just sit around doing nothing. But in actuality, inside us, we really want to be productive. We really want to be able to get things done. We just don't seem to be able to make it happen. It's a nightmare situation to be in, and I remember it very, very well. The thing is, the longer we stay in that situation, the worse it generally gets, because we start thinking about why can't we do this? Why can't we concentrate? Why can't we make decisions? Why can't we get work done? Why is it so hard to go for a walk or to get a shower or to do things like this? And the rumination then takes more energy and results in us feeling worse and worse and worse about ourselves. So it becomes a negative spiral. Depression and anxiety is exceptionally complicated, and there's a lot that we can do around this situation. One small, tiny change that we could potentially make that might help is what I call the magic minute. So if you're able to bring the resources, to summon the resources to be able to do something for 1 minute, that means you actually get to make a start. And then sometimes once you've made a start, motivation can kick in. A lot of people think they will just wait for motivation to happen. Maybe tomorrow I'll feel better or the next day I'll feel better. But motivation actually usually comes from starting and then seeing that we're successful. In many of my epicentering courses, I talk about things being a marathon of baby steps. So instead of looking at the finishing line from miles away and thinking I can never do that, we take one baby step and then another baby step and another baby step, and it may be a marathon of baby steps to get to where we want to go. But as long as we only focus on the next baby step, then that may seem doable. And as it becomes doable, as we achieve it, then we may have the ability to start feeling a bit better about ourselves, or at least we give ourselves the opportunity to start feeling better about ourselves, and that gives us then the motivation to do the next baby step and the next baby step. So that's why I call this the magic moment, because if you can just summon the energy to do something for 60 seconds, then you may potentially have the energy to continue. So it's not that we're inherently lazy, is that we don't have the energy because of what we're going through with depression and anxiety, taking away the energy to be able to do productive work. So it can even help just to take that burden off your shoulders, that you are not lazy. You may be struggling with depression and anxiety. If you think that's the case and you haven't spoken to a medical professional before, I suggest doing that as the first port of call. Regarding this magic moment, I'd just like to give a couple of examples. Instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to go out for an hour-long walk, which may be overwhelming, draw it back to just a moment of, I'm going to find the shoes that I use to wear to go outside, or I'm going to decide on what clothes to wear outside. I'm going to look at what the weather's like, what may happen, what clothes do I need. Then I'm going to get the shoes, then I'm going to get the clothes, then I'm going to get dressed, then I'm going to take my keys and go out. And can you see how sequentially it builds up in minuscule steps? You could potentially feel good about yourself after just finding your shoes that you use to go out. You could feel good about yourself for making the decision as to what you're going to wear. You could feel good about yourself by putting on the shoes and putting on the outdoor clothing. Now, I know in depression we're often divorced from our feelings, so it's unlikely that you're going to feel good about anything. But the idea is that you give yourself the potential, the opportunity to feel a sense of accomplishment for doing something. Because if we don't take any action, then we're just going to feel bad about ourselves. And that compounds. The thoughts are going to go through our head that we're not able to get anything done, we're lazy, we're worthless, we're useless, and we will just feel bad, and worse. So by doing these magic moments, we give ourselves the opportunity to see that we can achieve something. And motivation can potentially grow from that. There's another small psychological trick you can do, which is to pair doing something you like with the magic moment. So you could say to yourself, okay, I'm going to find the shoes and the outdoor clothes after I make a cup of tea. Or I'm going to start the filing that I need to do after I've had lunch. And then make a promise to yourself that you're going to do at least one moment of filing after you've had your lunch. And then it doesn't feel like such a huge hurdle to do that magic moment because you've paired it with something that you enjoy, your cup of tea and a biscuit, or your cup of coffee, or your lunch, or something like that. You can also try to gauge when you feel in the day you have the most energy. Some people feel better in the mornings, some people feel better in the afternoons and evenings. And then you can try to start your magic moment at whatever time best suits you and gives you the greatest chance for success. The trick is to take such a tiny baby step that you really can't fail, because you want to be able to give yourself the opportunity to feel that you were successful. And the way to do that is to take the smallest possible baby step, and then when you're successful, it may lead to more steps and more steps. What you don't want to do is pick a large step, attempt it, and then fail at it, because then that will compound the negativity that is going on in depression and anxiety. If you'd like more support, then please visit epicentering.com, where I'm giving away 12 free courses to help support people who may be experiencing depression and anxiety. These are things that I really wish I knew when I was struggling, but I didn't have a clue what was going on for me. These are complete free courses that total 313 lessons and nearly 36 hours of video content. It's entirely free at my website, epicentering.com. Thank you for listening. I hope this podcast helped you, and if you think it may help someone else, please share it with them. Thank you.